Fighting out of Liverpool, England, here is Patty, the Betty Pimblin.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's not so serious, man. Yes, it is. Oh God, everything's melting. I didn't know what I was gonna say. What is this? What are we? Where are you? How'd you find yourself where you're at right now? Dude, life is just like a maze. And we're trying to find our way out of the maze. It can feel like. But you can't find yourself out of a maze until you admit that the maze is a fallacy and a lie and designed to decept and fool you. And you can very easily go through the corn. You can go right through that corn. You're not trapped in the maze. You're never trapped in the maze. It's not as hard to go through that wall of corn. In fact, it'd be really easy. You just get low and shuffle. Shuffle on out of that corn. And I think people are not the most receptive to change always. I think that's not good. I think that happiness lies in the acceptance of change being inevitable. Happiness lies in acceptance. 3, 2, 1, I just saw. That's how long we've been live for. Acceptance that things are always going to be fucking up. Like, you think everything's all clean and perfect and blah, blah, blah. Or maybe it's not clean and perfect. And that's stressing you out. And then the cat pees. It's peeing again. It's that time of the month. It's making a bunch of noise. And it's peeing on stuff again. But you gotta take the bite of the good apple and not the bad apple. I was a little upset. I was a little slightly upset for a second. Because I found some piss in like some new places. Like it had gotten a little bit worse. But it only corresponds with the time of the month. And the cat moaning a bunch. And being in kitty heat. See, it's making noise right now. So, that gave me reassurance that the cat's peeing is not behavioral. And it's not that it has something wrong with it. It's just hormonal. And, you know, I thought I was, 444. Always thought I was a weirdo. But my dude, Elijah Long, he's the creator of Retard Maxing, Elijah Long, Elish Long. He's a content creator on here. He does these little like outdoor chats. They're not like chat like live stream, but just him. Like very similar to what I do. And sometimes the stuff is repetitive in terms of the general concepts. But Elijah does a good job of delivering new stuff. And that's where I get fed. Not fed, but I mean, he says some things that I wouldn't realize to think to say that I already agree with or have strategical experience using these concepts. And I listened to one of his shows lately, and he opens the show like, sometime along the way, you might find yourself in a shower with a woman. Okay, you're in the shower with a woman, sharing the shower. You may find yourself, and if you're like me, you're gonna have the masculine urge to just piss on her leg. Just for whatever reason, you're standing there in the shower with the woman, and you have to do it. And it's not like egregious, like I'm a creepy weirdo and I'm peeing all over you, just like a little bit. They're like, ah! They're like, what are you doing? What the? But it's like a test. It's kind of a test. Like, you think that girl's really gonna freak out, jump out of the shower and slap you and be like, what the fuck's wrong with you? Get out of here. I'm never talking to you again. If they did do that, then they're a psycho, and it's better off you figure that out with a little piss on the leg. It's a test. So not only is it a strange, like, mark your territory, but also somewhat of a test for the woman. Because there really do be some crazy trauma people who like that shit, but then if you jump the gun on it, they don't like that shit. Like, they'll act prude and secretly be wanting you to piss on them, but then if you just do it without their, I don't know, for some reason, they just, it's weird. So you deal with these weird situations, right? But I thought that was really neat that Elijah opened his show with talking about peeing on a girl's leg. And this dude has like over 200,000 subscribers in a pretty large community. So like, for a guy like me who talks about, that kind of stuff sometimes, in like maybe how I poop my pants and diarrheaed in 7th grade. And I also got a girlfriend that day. These are legendary stories, but that gives me hope that one day I can be a little bit famous too, talking about pee. And that's the end of the show. Oh, my screen. What do you mean, Polly? Is something broken? Oh, something is a little bit famous. Oh, that's on too. Talking about pee. And that's the end of the show. Oh, my screen. What do you mean, Polly? I see myself, but the... God damn it. I see myself, but the words ain't synced up. Okay, how about now? Test, test, test. Test, test, test. Is it synced up? Okay, how about now? Like, not at all. Why does it do this to me? It's not even fucking close. What the fuck, dude? No, this is not good. This is unprofessional. This is unacceptable. Look, he's talking and nothing's coming out. I'm gonna... Don't fuck me. Don't fuck me. If this don't work, I'm gonna reset the computer. I think it's working. Talk more, nerd. Idiot, talk. Idiot. Okay, it's working. I'm on. Now I feel like I'm gonna shit my pants all of a sudden. I already went a little poop. Good. That was going good. What were we talking about though? Pee. Oh, for real though, Polly, this computer that I'm using right now is an absolute tank of a machine. I paid like $700 total out the door for this computer back in like 2021. And it's done a lot for me. I mean, it's been through the ringer. I've brought it to places, different time zones. It survived borderline homeless adventures. Walking around Inglewood, California with my phone and computer dead on battery. Just doing the plug walk, trying to find a friggin' McDonald's to charge this thing up. Yeah, it's been through the ringer. It's tough as shit. It's only an Intel Core i3. And I think that the amount of juice I've gotten and productivity and stuff on this computer, for an i3, I've been impressed. I was worried that I undercut myself and should have paid the extra $200, but it's time for a new one. That was about 5 years ago now. The reality of a $700 computer doing what I need it to do for 5 years is pretty good deal, and I'm pretty happy with that. I'm pretty happy with the purchase of this HP computer with the Intel Core i3 processor. I'm happy with it. And it still can have a function. I can still use it. But yeah, I need something with more juice anyways, There's more that I want to be able to do. Running those live streams, the loop stuff all night, that's going to put this computer to sleep pretty quickly if I keep doing that every night. So it just doesn't have that much time. What's up, Chinchi? You got 2 shots in boof pills? Was that are you talking about your medication, or did you go to the bar and buy drugs from someone? Well, I don't know, man. There's, Sam Hyde, he's a comedian, YouTube show, and he does that fish tank experimental live stream with a bunch of weirdos in a house. He had on his podcast, his sit-down podcast, a pee guy. They had a pee guy, that whole pee episode. And the pee guy was basically saying, like, you should be drinking urine. You should save your pee and drink it or use it as skincare. Even better if you let it ferment. Fermented pee. There's a whole, and I've heard this before. I've talked about it before. I don't know. They were fact checking the guy and they were kind of losing a little bit. Like, the whole premise was this guy's a freaking idiot and let's expose him. But then he kept saying things that made sense. And it's definitely not a non-existent thing. Like, this isn't just one isolated crazy person. There are a lot of pee communities across the internet. But yeah, sometimes there's certain urges as a person, and we're scared of how they might get received. But it's really not that weird. Because you're in the shower with someone, you know, you've accepted the responsibility of you might get pissed on. But yeah, anyways, I was welcome to Bryan's World. I guess we gotta do the intro. My name is Bryan, and you're in my world. This is also available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Links in description. They're in my homepage, in the bio or whatever. Really, I just podcast to express my generalized donkey brains, multiple personality. They call it a disorder, but it's a pretty good time when you're in order. Ding, ding, ding. For real though, you guys, I try my best to have a crazy, wild, interesting life and turn it into a production. Work hard, have fun, go with the flow. Life is about the journey, not the destination. I'm unfiltered, uncensored, unhinged, and keep it outside the box. I have learned from my past mistakes and full of spiritual wisdom and out-of-pocket comments. If you're tuned into this broadcast, you are the resistance. Do your job, execute the vision. Man, you know, this, you know what really grinds my gears? This friggin' AI, man. I didn't really, when I said AI was going to get out of control, I mean, I guess this is it. Here you go. This is what it fucking looks like. I mean, there's a lot of normies out there. They're sitting around chatting with the AI in their free time. Sitting around playing with AI. And it's just kind of losing the touch of what we are as humans. And the problem is, when I say playing around with AI, okay, 5 years ago that would mean some coding shit. Getting in the computer and coding and writing code for an artificial intelligence system. Now, we got these little coomers, and even probably older people who are just, they're chatting with the freaking bots all the time. Or they're asking Grok. There's a Twitter thing, AI, and you chat with it. You ask it questions. Everybody, definitely a lot of talking into the phone. I kind of limit my talking into the phone just because it irks me. It just irks me a little bit. The text to speech, speech to text, I'd rather just type. And you don't want to really be, unless you're taking your own notes, you don't really want to be up in this shit just chit-chatting in these like long-winded out messages to one person. That's like, you know, it happens in the romance world and stuff, but, you know, it's good to have someone to talk to, but I think what happens is, I don't know. I think that the live chat in like live streams is potentially more productive than a lot of stuff. But it can be brain rot going in the wrong direction for a lot of what's popular. And maybe I don't know that for a fact. Maybe I'm brain rot. Maybe I'm the dumb one. I don't know. That's autism for you. But I'm just going to ride the tiger and keep doing what I do. I'll tell you, still to this day, the extent that I use AI, that's why I come up with shit to talk about and say, and I'm creative, because I avoid that shit like the goddamn plague. Like, listen, man. I was on that weird Twitter called Gab, the right-wing Twitter. And this is when the AI chat GPT shit was all coming out. They had one that would, you give it 3 words and it makes a picture for you. And I tried it out. I gave it 3 words. It made me 3 pictures describing the words, like AI artworks. And I immediately felt the presence of evil. And I was like, nah, Chief, that's not for me. This ain't it. Chief, this ain't it. And I'll get mad. That's one of the things, I tell myself, you don't get mad at none of them pretty girls or anybody from the past, no matter how dirty they did you. But I'll get mad at the AI. I'll get mad at some utilitarian shit that is affecting my brethren and sisters on a wide spread scale. And it's numbing us down, it's dumbing us down. And it just spooks me. We're getting away from, I have a question about something. Let me go learn from another human. Or let me just very quickly ask the AI how to do something, and it will tell you, and I guess it's just a quicker version of an internet research. So how bad is it? I just think that we already have so much information at our fingertips at all times. Encyclopedias, histories, the whole ass internet right here on your hand. That I feel like in order to keep it natural and in line with what it means to be a human, that the AI system vanishes that and flushes it down the toilet. That if we have kind of a loose, random, you actually have to click a few buttons to find what you're looking for. You actually have to think a little bit to find what you're looking for. That's gone. Everybody is just hammering the AI chatbot for anything and everything they need. What's the weather? What's the this? Hey, cereal. And you're gonna lose your touch. And I'm feeling collectively that the touch is vanishing from the younger people, like in their 20s right now, 20s to 30s, my age group. They're just losing the touch a little bit. That's not to say you can't go out and find some good old boys and some good old gals. Promise you. Okay? I don't want to be all negative Nancy with this shit, because I actually go out and do things and meet people and have encounters with random women and things like that. Like, I meet enough people out there doing what I do, having a good time, that I can say, hey, I don't know what the exact percentage of people that are like lost down this internet shit, and what people are still trying to have a grand old time. Because there's a lot of rabble on this. And I know how much time I used to spend scrolling and bullshit, and how often I would turn to it, and how clear and happier and productive and more creative I am that I don't really do that, you know? That if I'm sitting there actually watching something on my phone, it's either like a longer YouTube video or like a live stream that you can chat in or something. But the internet is massive in chaos. While it has so much good information, there's a lot of bad opinions and things they're trying to get your money. Advertisements. So I think that AI gives a human a little bit too much power. As far as having large sets of data and information summarized easily. And I guess that makes things more efficient. And hypothetically, you could get more done. But we start losing touch with natural law and the flow of creation from the powerful spiritual world full of gifts and new ideas and innovations. And that these gifts come to you not when you're asking AI questions, but when you're asking yourself the questions, or when you're using collective human information. It increases the power of the human to avoid the AI. It is a very simple self-improvement that's popping up because of how everyone is using it and how much everyone is scrolling. If you can relinquish those things from your life, you have... It's like wearing shoes that make you taller. It's like wearing glasses that let you see farther. It's like taking a pill and your body is stronger. Now, before the cell phones and everything was so prevalent in our lives, you know, it was just a normal thing to work on. Self-improvement, you actually had to do something. Nowadays, the way everybody is, you really... avoiding certain things can be self-improvement. I guess it's always been like that. Being disciplined and avoiding certain things. Simply avoiding certain things is counted as self-improvement. And I'll tell you right now that the chat GPT and OnlyFans, it skewers your mind, makes it more dependent on the systems. It hurts your ability to think for yourself. Your mind is supposed to work like a social media feed. But if you spend too much time on the feeds, eating up too much information, you lose that ability and you can go blank. And then, you know, people out and about, the anxiety kicks in, you go blank and just go on your phone and start scrolling. Would I care if it was just anxious people having some kind of outlet? No. It's not necessarily the worst thing for some people. Some people are messed up in the head from one way or another, and if they don't do the shit a lot, if they don't escape from their mind constantly, they will go crazy and possibly assault someone. So for some people, it's just better. But when it becomes a grand scheme of sorts, when it becomes everyone and their brother, we're constantly like, a lot of people are always on the phone, always texting somebody, always in a group chat. You miss out on what's around you. And the things around you in observation and listening of actual humans engaged in real life activities is what expands your mind faster. You will find that time spent out there in the wild is doing more for your soul and mind and intelligence than the smartphone ever could. That the Twitter ever could. Not to say there are not legitimate forms of entertainment on the internet. Not to say there isn't good ideas, and that the data we take in from scrolling doesn't somewhat extrapolate into our real life functioning. But it has to follow laws of nature, and that involves a lot of change and growth and being cyclical, understanding divine intervention. But yeah, I don't know. 4:44 p.m. right now. There's just I don't like the vibe of a lot of things that are super popularized. And I think that it could be more perfected, could be more efficient, could be safer. I think a lot of the bad sides of humanity, again, it's all a balance. So that with bad there is good. We're all a little bit bad, we're all a little bit good. But I think the bad side has started to show itself more, where there's a lot of people who are obsessed with the baller, motivational lifestyle and sayings, and that's a whole entire spell. It's a spell that involves a low percentage of people having success. And a lot of unfairness, a lot of usury, a lot of deceptions. So, what do you do? What the hell do I do about it? I don't know. But I'm your Huckleberry. And I think that the first step of any problem is identifying the problem. But with the mass social media psychosis that has blanketed itself over our society, where people are very controllable based on their emotions and stimuli designed to elicit those emotions in a negative way, has caught grip on people. But this, thus, is a natural thing. That the element of hell on earth, it's going to seep in and find its way to seep in. And that's kind of what it all is potentially scripted as, in my opinion. We have all these prophets in the conspiracy and the truth community. Prophets that, and prophecies. People that are supposed to fight back against the NWO, the New World Order. People that are supposed to be in the battlegrounds, fighting the shadow government, that there's some kind of pushback. That's what the truth community and the conspiracy theory community can be all about sometimes, is spreading the information to push back. But there's flaws in that pushback. Because sitting around talking about it doesn't really get you anywhere. And with the amount of gifts the world has to offer, talking and spending time worried and concerned about something that you're not going to be able to change. And even if you had the guts to try to organize and make a change, that the system will flag you, find you, arrest you, and sentence you. You will not, no one is going to get away with making some kind of militia group aimed at taking down the government. You don't get away with that shit. You get swept up. It doesn't work. They're monitoring. But the idea that you can win through information that trickles down to the voters, who then vote in the right people to expose and change the evil agendas of the government and elite ruling class, that even if you were to organize and succeed, it wouldn't win. Your side would not win. Those people that run the militia and take over the government, perhaps in a hostile way, that those people will be tempted by evil that is far too strong. And maybe it won't be them, but the next class of rulers, the next people that slowly funnel in over the next 100 years, you would be right back where you started. The corruption and shady dealings is a natural part of the ruling class. You can go through history. There's no such thing as a utopic ruling class. There is only an agenda. Various agendas with all the same goal, which isn't necessarily nefarious, but to control and organize society. That's what the government does. That's what the elite do. It needs to be organized. And it's organized a certain way that on the surface level it seems as if these people, the elected officials, it's really an oligarchy, but they make you think they're elected, that you think that they have the right vision and intentions, when truthfully they are driven by evil. And the temptation will find its way into anyone that finds themselves in power. Power is something that will always come with too strong of a temptation for most people to defeat. It simply doesn't work that way. It's law. Polly says, I believe that the U.S. built a federal training ground on a native burial site. And this is what's destroying our country. It says the Marines. So basically, this would be an example of magic, what you're alluding to here, Polly. Yes, a training ground on a native burial site. Now, that's not necessarily nefarious, I don't think. If I was going to build a training site for my army, I would do it on some kind of ground that has a lot of spiritual energy. And a Native American ground, you know, the people that our ancestors came here and took the land from. So you're having like somewhat of a sacrificial. The Native Americans that lost their lives and were sacrificed so that the white man could take over the country and get this shit going the way it needed to be, instead of being a bunch of fucking backward savages out running around going moo loo 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 la 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 la. No, I respect the Native Americans, but I also respect the will of nature and natural selection in history. And I don't think the Native Americans would have been capable of the Industrial Revolution. Or in fact, participating in that. At some point, if we weren't going to come there and wipe them out, somebody else was. That's a lot of land, a lot of resources, and it's better probably that some idiot British people did it than some idiot Germans or some idiot Chinese people. Probably would have been a lot worse. But yeah, no, you would want to use a spiritually charged area. You know, everything, all these little details are always spiritual. Like, what are they? They found Native American spear points, a 124-pound cannonball from Civil War. So you have all this pieces of literal history, and these are charged goods, I'll say. A physical object that has been spiritually charged and has historical reference. You can conjure power and energy from that. So to train your soldiers to be badass soldiers, yeah, sure, do it on some shit that has ties to the Native Americans and the Civil War. It's a lot of energy. Especially if people buried there. Now, me personally, I don't agree with war. I think it's kind of retarded. It's kind of fun. If you look at it in his historical basis, I think it can be pretty badass. But anything past World War II has just been some Cold War threatening shit. The reality of war in modern times is rather ridiculous. I think that our human minds should have been enlightened that we don't need to shoot each other over the sake of nationalism and conquering. I think we're good. It's a big enough space and resources for all of us if we got along perfectly. So yeah, no, it's ridiculous. But yeah, that's basically what they would do. It is evil. You know, we're talking about war, okay? Talking about murder for the sake of, I mean, like, oh, we have more than you now, haha. That's pretty much what war has been historically. Oh, we want more. We want to go throughout history. The Romans, the Roman Empire, they'll remember us. Yeah, it's a bunch of freaking goofs. What a bunch of weirdos. The Romans. Oh, and all these Genghis Khan ass. You really are that obsessed with like having more land? Like you can't just enjoy your freaking life and contribute to the society? Like there has to be this whole thing where like I'm mad at the Japanese people or the China, all the different reigns of emperors in China, like legacy. Well, you look like dicks now. You look like people who just really wanted to be violent and fight, and that's where it all comes from. But there is, I guess, part of our nature is war. It's just that you can apply that energy into productivity for your body, mind, soul, social standing, blah, blah, blah. It wouldn't have been hard for those freaking Genghis Khan chinks to just, to just respect the land that they had instead of trying to grow and conquer and make it, oh, we're going to take over the world type shit. Like, you freaking weirdos. You're freaking weird. It's weird. This whole, I'm going to lead this nation to take over. Like, we got sports now, you know? We don't need all this. But, yeah. They know dark magic very well. And that's just an example, kind of what I was talking about, Polly. That's good that you bring this up because, you know, I talk about the modern forms of how they use the spiritual world against us and to turn us into sheep. But it's also used everywhere in anything else, particularly the military. You want to have a stronger military. That's their mindset, right? You want to have the best military. So what do? You build the training place, the training facility for the soldiers. You build it on some shit that has an archaeological relevance to war. With treasures and trinkets of history. And people buried. People that gave their life buried down there. So that's a big freaking deal. Polly says the worst spirit that was passed to the tribe was the Wendigo. This is the spirit that would drive men mad enough to kill. Quantico is training Wendigo-filled federal agents. Oh, it's not a hard... it's not a hard spirit, I guess, to inject into a human. Look, I think there is a certain side of human nature that it might like the idea in form of like protection, that, you know, if someone came at me and shooting a gun at me and I was either gonna get shot in the head or pull out my gun and shoot them, that would be very some dopamine shit. Like, you want that. That would, oh man. Like, we don't have this urge to, again, it murderers and serial killers, that's a different discussion. But the natural, normal human, while you don't have the urge and the lust to kill someone and take a life, if it is in preservation of your life, that I think that your body and brain and shit responds well to that it likes it. Yes, it just naturally, or taking out an animal to eat it. Like, I'm hungry and I need to shoot this deer, or I need to fight a bear and eat it, because I'm hard as fuck. The hardest. David Goggins never fought a bear. Let's see Goggins. If he's the hardest man on earth, he should be able to fight a bear. Well, it's like a really good, the championship college team playing the worst NFL team. We'll get the baddest human on earth versus the shittiest bear. We'll find the biggest pussy ass bitch bear, and we'll have him fight Goggins. But yeah, the idea, I mean, the Wendigo spirit poly, I would say that something like that, I haven't heard of it, but I'd say a spirit like that, yes, that's very real. The Wendigo spirit that could drive men mad enough to kill, and mobilizing that and utilizing that to train soldiers to be stone cold killers. While they do that, yes, and maybe in this particular example with the Native American burial grounds, that, yeah, they're conjuring that specific spirit. But I think within the natural human, you could frame nationalism and protecting your country. That's how they do it. That's how they really, because I think that's a natural thing in us. Like, we're willing to kill to protect what's ours. It's natural nature. Now, perhaps, are we trying to be better than that as humans and continuing to enlighten ourselves? In my opinion, yes. I think that should be a thing. But I think it still is relevant and exists in people, and I definitely feel that way myself, that I would dome a motherfucker that was trying to dome me. I'd be perfectly fine with that, and standing over them and being like, that's what you get, motherfucker. But that, you know, you get a bunch of people in a classroom and you just frame, hey, go murder the Germans or whoever we go to war with. Go murder the Chinese people or the Russians. Go shoot their people and because it's for nationalism. You're protecting what's yours. If you don't go there and shoot them, they're going to take what's yours and just kill your family. Do you want them to kill your family? No. Okay, so go shoot the Russians. Like, I think it's a pretty easy thing to draw out of people in war. And then you get a lot of, you know, the Marines and stuff, you get a lot of big head, tough guys. So they already want, they might, even some of these people, they're little bitches and pussies and scared of shit deep down, but they do that to get it out of them. So they're thirsty for some kind of logic that makes them feel tougher and look tougher. So there's going to be a lot of people that latch on to that in the military and adopt that and become it because out of fear. You know, fear is a powerful mind control. If you have something and you put it in front of someone and you tell them that this is going to make you not afraid anymore, whatever it is, whether it's a freaking training program for a gym, training program for the Marines, a book that you read, a magic conch, a woman's pussy or something, like, hey, this right here, I'm gonna give you this, and you're never gonna be really that afraid anymore of anything. You're gonna fear will vanish. Dude, every single person and their brother would grab that shit. Whatever it is, yes, I'll do it, sir. Random person that has walked up to me and said they can guarantee that my fear will be gone by doing whatever you tell me. Dude, everyone's grabbing that shit. And then you think somebody that's a fearful person and suffering through anxiety and fear, that they don't even want to be as scared, but they're scared of everything, and you say, I can do that, we can fix that for you. Oh yeah, oh yeah. You could train, I mean, you could do much worse than training people to go shoot foreign enemies. And then they do. And then they do. You look at you look at the MK Ultra. You know, we had a few lately with the Charlie Kirk assassination. The guy that shot at Trump. The guy that shot the Big Pharma CEO. These are not actual citizens rising up and trying to make a statement with a political assassination. It's under the guise of that. But the truth of what it is a plot and a ploy to induce fear-based mind control. It always has an agenda that follows it. And we have there's a lot of fakes in this industry. I mean, look, they got the next new Apples coming up. Sneakos and Nick Fuentes. But even those guys, they all run their course and they're on to the new person to cause discourse. But yeah, it is like our natural human brain is very receptive to these sin consumption habits. So then when you have somebody guiding on that and praying on that, that's like how I started this conversation. Like, you get people stuck in a freaking maze. You get people's minds stuck in a stinking maze. Where you think that this is the no way out. I tried hugging the right side all the way through, and there's no way out. And you don't realize until it's too late. The maze never had an exit. It was made to be impossible. But it's a freaking maze, a stinking maze of corn. And you could have went through the corn and be grabbing corns, and now you've just busted out this maze that you thought you were lost forever in, and you have a handful of corn. That's what life and this reality is. You're in the maze. There's all this stuff that convinces you that you're stuck in the maze. It tells you there's a way out, but there's really no way out. But you just have to keep following and trying to figure it out. And nothing will change. The maze is insanity. It doesn't have an answer. But you know what does? It's corn. You realize it's made of corn. And I can stomp a corn plant. I'm the human being. I'm alive. I'm the supreme being of this realm. I'm the number one seed, and no way in hell is a wall of corn, a cornfield, gonna stop me. In fact, I see the corn as an opportunity to stock up on corn because I use it a lot in cooking. I put corn in my rice. I put corn in my tacos. I put corn in my pastas. I like gay corn. You understand? You walk through there grabbing corns. Like you're thirsty for that corn. It's got protein and ethanol. You can make ethanol from corn. You can do a lot with corn. You make cornmeal vodka. Get fucked up. Tell everybody how you really feel. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say about like ICE and this political stuff. I don't pay enough attention or take in enough information about any of this. So people are getting shot. I don't know. Are they illegals? I don't know. I would say you take everybody. You take ICE. You take the protesters. And you take the illegals. And you take them to a damn field out in Area 51 and you use a small nuclear warhead to vanish them like Thanos. Because it's just bad vibes on both sides. I'm tired of it. I think that some of these things, for utilitarian principles, what would be best for the whole, we have all this stuff dominating our news headlines, distracting our people from the things that are nice and beautiful and wonderful in this world, and I don't play with that shit. Okay, I try not to get mad and control myself, but that's the shit I ain't playing with. And we're too far past talking it out with this stuff. It needs to be, you take both sides of the damn pony and you tranquilize them. You go, I am talking about a freaking Thanos-like event. Now that's a joke. I'm a comedian. These are all, we don't condone hate or violence against anybody. But if I'm coming at both sides and I'm saying I'm done with your bullshit, this side ain't gonna convince me of nothing. This side ain't convincing me of nothing either. Y'all go to hell. Because I'm, fuck, dude. I mean, there's just, you just start taking your steps. Why don't you go to a bowling alley? Why don't you go watch a football game at a strip club? Start stepping out there like a freaking Lance Armstrong on the moon. Fucking whatever. Both of them are fakes. I mean, let's be honest. Lance Armstrong was the biker Tour de France using steroids. Fucking coward. Actually, steroids is kind of badass. So yeah, I fuck with Lance Armstrong. I like my wiener having it. I could do steroids. I'd be okay because I like it working well, and I ain't doing nothing that's gonna not make it work well. I ain't playing with that. I ain't made me on booba hash. How dare you gonna try to take my dick away? But every single time that one of these stories lands between ICE and the protesters and the illegals, it is a negative aura vibe hit to the people that consume that media. Both sides feel the negative energy from that shit. If ICE is shooting people in your neighborhood that are innocent people, then the cops will come and arrest them. Okay, that's how that works. The National Guard, they can't just go around shooting people. So they're not going to come shoot you. First things first. Second, I haven't seen any type of video footage where I was kind of like, hey man, when someone is telling you what to do and that person has a gun, I'm pretty certain I would have listened and not gotten shot in that situation. And you start saying things like they were threatening ICE and saying we're going to shoot you, like, and then you try to run them over with your car. Oh, you're doing that now? Okay, bye. I'm good with that. I don't know any new videos or anything else going on, but we just don't have time for people to be disorderly in certain situations. If you're not doing anything wrong, you won't get in trouble. And even if you want to go do a bunch of shit that's wrong, you probably still won't get in trouble, okay? As long as you're not stupid when the police show up. As long as you can be dumb as shit, but you really won't get that much trouble or shot if you're just calm and listen when the police... You might get let out of something crazy. You might get let off. But people be freaking out in the back of the cop cars, going crazy, getting themselves in trouble, and then... It's just a thing. People go fucking berserk. And those people, guess what? Anyone who... They probably don't value their lives or love themselves if you put yourself in that situation where you're beefing like that and resorting to violence against somebody who's just trying to do their job. That person probably don't even really want to be here or need to be here. So fuck them. But in my opinion, on the same coin, there's too much... Like, I don't really know what the actual issue is. Is there too many illegal immigrants? Like, what's the problem? Because if there's too many illegal immigrants, then, I mean, yeah, you kind of have to fucking do something about it. But again, I haven't seen there's nobody in my town that's an illegal immigrant that's, like, eating my cat. No one's eating my cat. I've never seen a Mexican doing something stupid. They don't do stupid shit. They're pretty smart. So let them be here. I don't care. So I'm on both sides. Like, both sides just have too many flaws. I think they're probably going overboard with how many people they're corralling and going after. But then the protesting has gone overboard in itself too. So at some point, just everybody just needs to get burned by a nuclear bomb. Everyone involved with that can just fuck off. But yeah, they want you to feel one way or the other. I don't. I can't. Because there ain't nothing happening outside of my world. And for 99% of people, where else is this happening? It's just Minnesota. Which Minnesota is always involved in the false flag shit. So how do we even know any of this stuff is real? They can make an AI video that looks real of a lady trying to run over ICE agent and getting shot. They can do that. They could have fooled you. Even the people in Minnesota, they'd see it in the news and be like, this is happening in our streets. Like, come on, man. People don't just trust the news like that as much as you would think. And that's one of the mazes, dude. This whole ICE stuff, all this stuff. That's one of the mazes they put up. There's no way out of that maze on either side. No one's really right. And if it's whatever's happening, sure, Minnesota, talk about it on your local news. But if it's not really happening in my town, I don't care what the fuck's happening in your town. Because what's happening in your town, nothing even remotely like that even goes on here. Or anywhere I've ever been or seen. So the idea that you might be dramatizing what happened for attention and for advertising, and these things are money grabbing, it's a fallacy. And I ain't getting stuck in that maze. I'm going to say fuck them both and go eat the corn and exit the maze. But yeah, it's a trap. Mouse traps everywhere for your mind. When I first heard some shit about the ice, I was a little pissy or emotional or like, yeah, shoot the annoying bitch. Like, I don't know. You're all over the place. I don't know what to think behind this. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm without it. So it don't matter what I think. So I don't care. And if it's happening in my town, then yeah, I'm just gonna go assault whoever's causing the problem. How about that? There's enough people, I think, like me, that if this stuff was really happening, you just go out there and start slapping people around like bad ice, bad protester, all you dumb, leave, bye, get out of here, we will shoot you. You show up with an army of 1,000 men. You say, get the fuck out of here. Go do that in China. Go do this bullshit in China. And these are problems that people will take on as their own problems and dominate their own thinking and take them away from their actual life problems that would help them feel better and happier. So not only are they mind controlling you away from what's yours and what you need to do, but they're feeding you something that has no rational solution, that all solutions presented are dramatic and emotional, and over a long period of time will train your brain to react to certain stimuli in a certain way in an emotional manner. And I don't want that for society. So what am I going to do? I'm going to friggin' pout. Stinking pout. Stinking. I'm going to stinking pout about it. And I'm going to be a good, happy ball of energy and not let my trauma or past mess me up. But if my content can be used for the greater good, that brings some naturalness to this. I don't put... In my shorts, I don't put the music or any of the gimmick stuff. Maybe the filter and the captions and that's it. And it does that automatically very quickly. But I'm very against, I see everyone, their brother, always using one of the sounds that everyone's heard 1,000 times. And I think that'll be a big fucking deal one day. I think having a mass library of good information and good clips and funny clips and good shit in my shorts, that you can consume that straight from the rabbit's mouth emotionally, that you're getting the straight raw hit from my words and my energy and vibe from my mind soul combination computing and spitting out words in the English language. And it can inspire and motivate and thought provoke the minds of the sick, the mind of the ill will, the mind of the perverted, the minds of the demented, degraded by traumatic life experiences combined with the fear-based mind control of our society and culture. That what's needed right now is a step back from all of it. The conspiracy theories try to take a grand look at things and expose it. But another step back is required if you really want to have a spiritual adventure and spiritual path. And people think that the conspiracies and fighting the NWO and fighting the evil is some kind of game that can be won. Something that can be affected. We can't affect anything until we take a step back and kind of look at, like, as a society, where do we stop with the hyper competitiveness? Where do we stop with the illusion of the American dream and the ever increasing disillusion of small businesses, and widening gap between the rich class and the poor class, to a point where things are just so unequal. And it would just take some of these rich people giving up a little bit to make things significantly better. And when you see all that, it'll upset you and piss you off. But my goal is to learn to laugh at it and not get sucked into it emotionally, but be on the outside of this world, cracked through the matrix, and that it's not too serious. But we need our filters. We need to start filtering the information that makes its way into our heads. And I think that what I do fits that. And I hope that a lot of people, through my words and my vision, can see the corn for what it is in the maze. That you can look around the maze and realize you're in a friggin' cornfield. And that you have no problem running through that cornfield to get to where you need to be, while harvesting a handful of corn for later consumption, for energy. Double whammy. I'm trying to give people a double whammy. Because if we're going to listen to stuff, if we're going to consume media on this internet, how hard is it to find something that has some responsibility, some integrity, a lack of selling out, a lack of monetization? How many people do we have doing it? They're just busters, trying to find their sound, not what gets them the more views. How many people? Not many. And those people themselves are locked in a cornfield. So how the hell are people going to escape the cornfield, the corn maze, when the people on this internet are profiting and making money from their suppliers and handlers? They're making money to keep us in the maze, to keep us focused on the general lineup of issues and dramatizations that they want you to listen to, like ICE versus immigrants, left versus right, abortion, the gay stuff. freedom of speech, freedom of religion. None of it, most of this stuff doesn't really apply to any of us, and we don't need to give a shit about it. But they train us, and they get propped up for doing so. As I always say, give me an inch and I will take you a mile. And that's all I can do. I have a plan. I have a system. I have everything I need to make my run. And the time is now. But it needs to be understood, and I like to be very transparent in my creations, what I'm here to do. Because anytime I get trolled these days, within 2 sentences, the person apologizes and says, "My bad. You're actually right. You're here. You should be here, dude. Fucking should be." And that I support their trolling. That I say most of these people don't fucking belong. So go give them hell. Go disrupt their show because they don't have the willpower to put on something from their goddamn soul. They only have the power to put on something that they've seen from somewhere else and replicating it. Where have I seen Bryan's World? Where has anyone seen anything that I've done in my career? I mean, there's been different formats and angles in the way I've done things that is quite unique. And kind of like a nigger rigged. That's the right terminology for it, you know? We find a way. You just keep finding a way. So yeah, we can't, the way I used to be, enlighten everybody, free the sheep, it doesn't really work like that. With the whole conspiracies and exposing the news and talking about the news cycles. We free the sheep through something completely different. And as far as the talk show host, it's all I've ever aimed for. But yeah, I'm excited. Always excited. Because I made those changes. I took myself out of the loop of the news that I had been pretty heavily involved in since 2015. We're talking about 10 years reading about politics, having opinions about what's going on, understanding what's going on, that developing into conspiracy. I always kind of was conspiracy. For a little bit I was a little right wing and then went full-blown conspiracy again. And since 2020, I've completely denounced both sides. Once Trump did the daddy Moderna shit, I was done with him. And I knew at that point that nobody ever in that shit is real. That they're all playing their part. No one ever came up from something and made it into our government. That we live in an oligarchy. This is like a kingdom These are the kings and queens, royal, rich families. And they're all controlled and compelled by one thing. Evil. The evil side of our world. The temptations. There's so many things that they've beaten the beauty out of in our world. But it isn't necessarily too hard to plug yourself back into it. But part of growing is admitting that, not only being able to admit that you were wrong about something, but the idea that you can admit that you might be wrong about something that you currently hold and you don't even realize it's wrong yet. That mentality, really being your own devil's advocate, that's more of a weapon than any kind of news opinion will ever give somebody. But yeah, I think people do like order, and I represent chaos. But chaos is what gets you the fuck out of the maze. Chaos is what shows you the path that you didn't know existed. You get to the fork in the road. Listen, man. A fork in the road. Well, a fork has like 4 prongs, okay? So you get to a fork in the road, you got 4 different places to go. And you got to bend the fork the other way and have 4 entirely new places to go. That's how you got to be. You be ready to bend that fork. Don't just the fork in the road. You bend the fuck. Go through the woods. Make your own freaking path. Everybody sees how things get perceived in popular culture. And they think that because it's popular, that it's good, or it's right, or it's better. That you should be like this. That they say all this stuff. The people in the Grammys are saying this and that. Jelly Rolls is telling all the kids that they could be famous like him. Fucking idiot. The dumbest motherfuckers I've ever seen. You ever listen to one of the podcasts he's been on? It's like just listen to a freaking Valley Girl talk. But they put those people up there and they think that that's your Huckleberry. It's freaking Jelly Rolls. He ain't your Huckleberry. All those people. All those famous people, man. They're not even close to what it means to be a real person. They're not even close. They might be MK Ultra. They might not be real at all. So, what's popularized is, again, deception stuff that keeps you in the maze. And there is no escape. There is certain parts of this realm where the maze really stops. Physics, laws of physics stop you. Nature's laws will stop you. But it's really easy at a base level to start freeing your mind from what it's been conditioned to believe. It's incredibly exponential. And you can have years and years of work, and one occurrence, one night, one event can change everything. It's the last puzzle piece, and it all comes together. Well, part of it all coming together is, again, acceptance. Acceptance that your cat's always going to pee on something. Accepting that vehicles always have issues. You gotta be ready to fix it. Accepting that life has curveballs. It might even throw you an old school knuckleball, and you're really not gonna know how to hit it. But you have to learn to be the type of player that hits curveballs. You have to be the type of person that knows what's about to happen next. And if you're sucked into the news flow and you're sucked into what's popular and people just scrolling for an hour a day, it's not a good place. This can be a bad place very quick just from simple little habits like that. But that's what I do. What I do is to make something that's better. So I'm going to go to the gym now. I'm going to go get a workout in. Everybody keep it fucking real. And we'll catch you next time. Peace.